today's tutorial, we are working on a gathered or pleated turban cap which has a rose design, and I'm making use of the flowered poly fabric or the flowered scuba fabric. And now this is the light fabric. There's a thicker one, but I'm making use of the light one. You can use any one. Now you know your gathered or pleated turban cap has the band, it has the base, and then the rose design attached on it. 1 yard of fabric is more than enough for this design. Now going into the fabrics and their measurements. For my base, the measurement I'm using is 26 inches for the head circumference by 20 inches for the width. 26 by 20 inches. That is it for the fabric for the base. Now coming to the fabric for the band, I'm using 4.5 inches for the width by 22 inches for the length. 4.5 inches by 22 inches. And then finally we have the fabric for the rose design, and I'm using 9 inches for the width by 60 inches for the length. 9 by 60 inches. So that is that. Now starting the turban cap tutorial for the turban base, I have my base fabric here, and if you look carefully you will see that I've drawn my lines for the gathered or pleated turban. I've marked my lines. So it's important that while working for this design, you determine the measurements between each interval. And for mine, I made use of 1.5 inches, of which you can also decide to use 2 inches or 1 inch as the interval between each line. Now to do that, it requires that you get your measuring tape, place on your fabric, and then you measure out you take out your measurement and you mark. So I'm working with 1.5 inches. I'm supposed to mark it at different points and then get my ruler to mark it from one end of the fabric to the other to get that straight line. But then to save me the stress of using my measuring tape one after the other until I get to the end of the fabric, I have my ruler here, and the width is 1.5 inches. So all I just have to do is place on my fabric and roll it down from one end to the other until I get to the end of the fabric. So that is just it. And then as soon as I'm done with this, I'll get this on my sewing machine and start sewing on each marked line from one end to the other. So I'll just fold and sew on the marked line one after the other. So I'll go back off camera to do this, and as soon as I'm done, I'll get back for us to continue. At this point, I have my fabric right here. I'm done sewing the base, and this is how it looks like. So I have the fine side of my fabric this way. That's how it looks like after sewing. And then on turning it over to the other side, I have the wrong side this way. So I will just go ahead to fold my fabric into two with the wrong side inside, and then I will get my scissors, and then I'll make a notch at the middle of the fabric. This is to help me locate the middle of the fabric easily. So that's what I'm doing. After which I'll set it aside. I will get the fabric for my band. I will fold it into 2 equal halves again with the wrong side inside, and then I will go ahead to make a notch at the middle of the fabric on both sides of the fabric. So that is what I'm doing right now. So that is that, and as soon as I'm done, you can see my notch at the middle. Then I will get the fabric for the base. I'll place it with the fine side facing me. I'll fold my band into 2 and place on the base, while ensuring that the midpoint from the fabric for the base and that of the band aligns together. Then I'll take this on my sewing machine and sew down from one end to the other end. So at the end of the day, I have it this way. I've sewn down the band to the base, and this is how it looks like I now went ahead to fold my fabric into 2 equal halves. This is to enable me locate the midpoint, and then you can decide to make use of your chalk to mark out the midpoint. After marking my midpoint, I went ahead to pass my needle and thread from the wrong side of the fabric, from that part that the band was joined to the base, just as you see in the video. And then I'm going to start picking each pleat. I'll fold it into 2, pass my needle and thread through it, just as you see me doing in the video. So I'll go again, pick the next pleat, and then I'm doing that until I get to the second to the last pleat. I'm not going to do that for the very last pleat. I'll stop at the second to the last pleat. Then I'll come back, pick my pleat, fold it into 2 equal halves, and pass my needle and thread through it in that order until I get to the second to the last pleat. So this is my work, and I've gotten to the second to the last pleat, and that's me folding it into 2 and then passing my needle and thread through it. So that is that. And then to go back and secure the thread properly. Okay, so I'll go back, secure my thread, and ensure that it is firm, then cut off my excess thread and get back. And then I'll fold my cap, that is my fabric, into 2 equal halves, and I'm going to be placing this on my sewing machine, and I'm going to be sewing it down. Now sew from the band, take it from the band down, take it to the right side, and from that side, from the beginning to the end, and then down to the other side. So please follow the direction of my hand to get the sewing pattern. I will sew down the band down, take my sewing stitch to the right, from one end to the other, and then to the other short end. Okay, here I have my fabric already sewn, as you can see, and follow my hand direction to see how I made my sewing stitch. The next thing we're going to be doing is making a running stitch at the edge of the fabric. So my running stitch is from one end down to the other end only, just one edge. So I'll start by passing my needle and thread. And please, before making your running stitch, this is where you weave the edges of your fabric. Now that that is all done, I'll go ahead to turn my fabric inside out to the fine side, and here I have my gathered or pleated turban cap ready. So this is it. Then we're going to set this aside while we work on the design that is going to be attached on it. Now I have the fabric for my design here. Remember, we're working with 9 inches by 60 inches. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be folding my fabric into 2 equal halves, and I'll be making a running stitch from one end of the fabric down to the other end. So from this short end through the long edge and then to the other short end, that's where I'll be making my running stitch through. So this is my fabric after sewing. You can see how the ruffles is, and then pull your thread and go about creating the design. Now the design is in 3 steps, so you have to roll your fabric 3 times. 1, this is 2, and then the third one. You roll your fabric 3 times to give you 3 steps. Then you go ahead to tack down your design using your needle and thread. That is how to create the rose design. Now that I've rolled it and I've gotten my 3 steps, I'm going to now set it in place and ensure I tack it properly. So it's like 3 steps. I'm saying it again. one layer is like on each other. So each step on each step, each step on each step till you get to the top or you get to the base. That is how the design is. Very simple. It's a rose-like design in 3 layers or in 3 steps. Now I'm done with that. You see that middle part where you made your running stitch? When you're tacking your design in place, fold down your fabric a bit so that you can cover that edge of the fabric, since it was not weaved and it was not sewn. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this again one more time. This is my fabric after making my running stitch. Remember, you are folding 3 times to get 3 steps. One has to be on each other. That is the nature of the rose design, so don't forget that. And after which, when you're attacking the top part, you have to fold down your fabric in such a way that that edge from the running stitch you made will not be visible. So right here I have my fabric in place and I'm trying to use my needle and thread to tack it through. The fabric is thick and it's a bit bulky, so it requires patience. All you have to do is start passing your needle and thread from the top through the 3 layers down to the base, from the base to the top, in that order. Tack at strategic points, use your intuition so as to help you hold down your fabric and form that round 3-layered shape. At this point, I was done sewing and I was trying to adjust my fabric in place. So I went ahead to get my turban cap and I'm going to be sewing down the rose design on my turban cap. Please ensure that you place it at the middle of your fabric. Then get your pins to help you hold it in place. And then don't forget to place your cap and the design on your dummy head so that you can get the right fitting for it before you go ahead to place your pins on it and then use your needle and thread to start stacking. Please do not forget, it's very important. At this point, I was done tacking and I was just going about adjusting the fabric. So this is how it looks like. And then if you look carefully at the middle part, so that I use my fabric to cover that part where the edge of the fabric was showing from the running stitch. So you see how neatly done this is. You saw the way I tacked my needle with my needle and thread just in and out. And then voila, here you have our design on our dummy head looking all set and beautiful. And that's just all that there is to this tutorial. Thank you for watching.